Hi, I'm Kimberly. Welcome back to the Success Series Talks. Talks designed to help you get what you want out of life. Remember to listen, take notes, and most importantly, act. Have you ever felt stuck? Like really stuck? Have you ever felt that no matter how bad you wanted something or how hard you worked for it, you just couldn't seem to get beyond where you are? And then to make matters worse, someone inevitably tells you that it is just because you don't want it enough. Because if you did, then you would have already figured out a way. If this situation describes your life and you have put all your blood, sweat, and tears into something, then maybe like me, you may wonder, what is the missing link? What is the key? Maybe you've read books and changed habits and still can't figure out how to get to where you want to. Have you ever noticed that a lot of people, at some point in their lives, just finally give up and say, this is as good as it gets. I just need to buckle down and work hard for my family, and if I do a good job, then I'll be able to retire and start enjoying and living my life then. This is what so many people tell themselves because they feel stuck and are discouraged. This is exactly what had started to happen to me at one point, but I just couldn't accept that life. It was depressing to me. And so one day, while out on a walk, in exasperation, I shouted, I don't understand what I am doing wrong. How do I get what I want? Well, when I asked myself that question, it led to a series of interesting quote-unquote coincidences in a pretty short period of time, which were the missing link for me, and maybe they will be the missing link that you are looking for. By the way, when I use the word coincidences, I want you to know I don't believe in them. Everything happens for a reason and has a purpose. Someone once said, coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. This is how I choose to look at them. If you look at coincidences as opportunities, your life will become very different. My next story will illustrate this. So I had been with my husband at a friend's house that he was doing some work for. When he got done, she said that she'd been looking into some coaching materials and she found a guy named Kirk Duncan that she was really impressed with. And she thought that maybe I would like to check out some of his stuff because she knew I was into that kind of thing. I said, sure, and went to look at her collection. One of the audios, called The $1 Million Prayer, immediately caught my attention, for obvious reasons, right? And so I took it home and I listened to it a few times. In there, the guy was telling his story about a time when he was discouraged and stuck. And he said that one night he was praying. Now, whether you believe in God or not isn't the point. It is the concept and principle that matters. So he was praying and he decided to change the questions he had been asking. The question he decided to ask that night was, who am I? As he sat there and asked that question, a little picture crossed the path of his mind. And in that moment, everything changed for him. It took him a few months to get it all put into action, but that was the start of something better for him. It wasn't a coincidence that I was with my husband that day, or that she decided to loan me an audio. It had a purpose, and that purpose enriched my life and opened doors I didn't even know were available. And I definitely didn't know they had been closed, mostly because of my decisions. Let me ask you, have you ever asked God, or just put it out there for yourself, who am I? And then just spent some quiet time reflecting and pondering on that? Author and religious leader Henry Eyring says, how you answer the question of who you are will determine almost everything. That is a pretty bold statement. But think about it. If you aren't true to yourself, life is really hard. You do have a part to play and you won't be satisfied until you are in that role. Well, I decided that maybe I should attempt that same prayer. So that very day, I put that out there for God. And then I waited and I waited. I didn't get an answer that day or even the next day. About 3 days later, I was reading in another book, also not a coincidence, called What is Your What? By Steve Olsher, that taught me how to find out what my purpose was. Suddenly, I realized my problem. You see, somewhere, I became convinced that I would get success faster by developing weaknesses than by maximizing and focusing on my strengths. I kid you not, I was doing something I wasn't good at, hoping it would take off so that I could then do what it was I felt was my purpose. You see, if I got success in that area, then what I wanted to do was the next step. So it was guaranteed. For some reason, I didn't believe in myself enough to actually run after what I wanted. I was trying to get to it through the back door. Doesn't this give you a headache just picturing me doing this? Yet, how many of you are doing the same thing? You went into something in college you don't like so that you could at least get a better lifestyle. Meanwhile, your dream is lying dormant somewhere under piles and piles of things named responsibility, family duty, and good citizen of society. All those things are really good, but sometimes we use them as an excuse not to chase our dreams, when really they should be the driving force that propels us forward and upward. As I asked, who am I started to understand what I was really supposed to do. You see, it is possible to do what you love and get paid for it, but you may have to think outside the box a little. The answer that came to my mind to that question both scared and thrilled me. At that moment, a very interesting thought hit my brain, but I didn't really know what to do with it then. It would take me a couple of months to put it in its proper place. Now, if you're still a little confused about why asking yourself, who am I, can help, let me tell you a personal experience. As I became an adult, two things were obvious. I loved working with people, especially teens, and I loved teaching and felt like it was part of my purpose in life. So, of course, I became a public school teacher. Truth, teaching is part of my purpose. However, not in the way I thought. I had a very narrow mindset on what was available for teaching, and for me, school teaching wasn't really part of my purpose at all. In college, they told me I didn't teach subjects, but that I taught students, and I believed this with all my heart and threw myself into becoming really good. However, I didn't feel satisfied. Then one day, I realized my passion was to teach people to change their lives, to teach them things that they could apply in order to become even better. I wanted to empower them to chase their own dreams. That day changed for me. I finally knew who I was. I wasn't a school teacher. I was a motivator and inspirer. So school teaching is a worthy goal, and we need teachers. And if you love teaching in a school and feel like it is really what you were called to do, then I'm sure it is, and you are important. You have the ability to have a profound impact on so many people. Part of the reason I am where I am today is because of a couple of very special school teachers. However, for me, I was doing the wrong thing. If you find yourself doing something you have no passion for and you aren't sure what to do, I have 4 suggestions. Number 1, think like a kid. I say this because most people have their greatest dreams when they are a kid. Go back to those. What did you really dream of being when you were younger? Are any of those something you would still love to do? Are any of them something that you could still do that are realistic? Obviously, if you are 50, becoming the star running back for a pro football team isn't realistic. However, are there other ones that are? The thoughts we have as kids are usually undiluted and uncensored. We find out about something, and if it fits our interest, we just start dreaming about it. Later, people fill our minds with thoughts of it being too difficult or unrealistic, and then we start looking outside ourselves for answers to what we want to do in life, instead of looking inward. Go back to that undiluted time period. Number 2, write down all the realistic dreams you had that are still exciting to you. Then do some research and see how difficult it would be for you to accomplish some of those. This doesn't have to be extensive, just something to help you know what is required and what you need to do to start. You may need training or certificates. Look at what the costs are. Look at more than one option. You probably have several things that you could do. Which one would be the best for you right now? Number 3, make a dream board. Put pictures of your dreams on a board and look at them every day. Your mind thinks in pictures. Your subconscious enjoys thinking of ideas to help you when it knows what you really want. So put pictures of your dreams on there and let your subconscious think of solutions to help you achieve them. Number 4, learn the skills or get the education you need to allow you to start living those dreams. Save the money you need, make the changes, and look forward to seeing those things happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So one day I was reading a book called The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, an absolutely inspiring book that expanded my understanding a lot. The Dream Giver is about a town, and in this town is a bunch of people called nobodies. One of these nobodies is named Ordinary. Ordinary has a dream that was given to him by the Dream Giver. In order to fulfill this, he must leave his home. It is hard leaving his town and his family and friends. As a matter of fact, a lot of them discouraged him from leaving, telling him he would be disappointed and that it was way better to just be content with life. But Ordinary just couldn't stand the thought of living his life anymore. So he sets out to get his dreams. He has a lot of hardships along the way that he must face, and he meets a lot of great people who help him. He learns to trust the Dream Giver, who speaks to him from time to time. Well, there's an interesting part where Ordinary sees his dream within sight, and suddenly the dream giver asks him to give up his dream, to give it to him. Ordinary doesn't understand, and he has a debate. And at first, he doesn't want to do it. But he finally decides he needs to trust the dream giver and do what he asks. Then later, unexpectedly, the dream giver gives him back his dream. But it is way bigger than before and encompasses way more people than he ever imagined. As a matter of fact, his dream will benefit everyone. This hit me, that if I gave God my dream of teaching and did it his way, then maybe I could fulfill my purpose and influence, affect, and help way more people. So I did. I turned my dream over to God and told him to inspire me on how to use my talents and interests in a better way. God gave me a larger dream over a few months, and I wasn't the same. Suddenly, I knew there was more out there for me. Again, someone else may be happy doing what they are doing, and they may have found their purpose. But if you are like me and think that your job keeps you doing things that are too small, and that you would like to be part of something greater, then maybe like me, you need to expand your vision. Find out who you really are and fulfill your life's purpose so you can be happy and excited about your life. Before this time, as a result of not being satisfied, I kept switching jobs, which drove my family nuts because they wanted me to find something and stick with it until I could retire. That thought made me sick, and I kept thinking that a different situation would gratify my inner yearnings for more. And I also was always looking for something else outside of the public school, but still within the realm of teaching, camps, ranches, and retreats. I even looked into being a tour guide and some sort of park ranger. But everything seemed to lead me to a dead end. It all limited me, in one way or another. What was wrong with me, I thought? Why can't I figure out how to get what I want? I went to seminars and workshops and did some events with challenge courses. I even helped be the guide at one of those. Well, at one point, I attended a leadership retreat/camp through Boy Scouts of America. This was another thing that was not a coincidence. Slowly but surely, all the pieces were getting put together. I discovered that I loved how this retreat was set up. I loved doing the activities. But more than that, I loved watching my teammates too and helping them succeed. After going to this retreat, I had a strong desire to not just participate, but to sign up and be a guide or leader at a future one for other people. The idea of teaching and encouraging people in these situations lit a big fire under me in a way that school teaching never had. You see, in a public school, I was limited on what I could say. Most of the things that I thought would change people's lives, I wasn't even allowed to talk about. While at this retreat, we were required to make a vision statement with goals. So I sat down and started making a vision statement for my life. I want to share it with you because this gave my life direction. Maybe if you make one for your life, it will do the same. So on the paper they gave us, I wrote, to develop myself personally, professionally, and financially in areas of leadership, communication, public speaking, and teaching to enable myself to have the character, skills, time, and money to spend influencing and developing youth and adults. So I knew what I wanted. I had an idea of how to get there, and I had made some goals that would help me. Now I had to figure out how to make money doing it. What could I do that would encompass all of those things? My vision statement had some pretty big aspirations in it. I had to think big. It was the only way for me to get what I wanted. This is when it finally hit me. I could become a public speaker and an author. By the way, both of those things were things I had dreamed about when I was a kid. Don't underestimate those childhood dreams. My purpose was to influence people's lives, millions of lives. My purpose was to write books that in turn would help others discover their purpose. My purpose was to speak to people all over the world and give them the tools necessary to light their own fires. So I started acting on that. And you know what? Something interesting happened. I woke up every day excited to write talks and books. Doing so was both work and recreation for me. That was something I had never experienced before. I really couldn't understand how people could just love what they did so much that it made them excited to get out of bed. I liked teaching, even loved it, but I never got excited about getting out of bed in the morning to go teach English. And I hated preparing lesson plans. For the first time, I understood what all those books on success were talking about. Before this time, I really didn't understand why people wanted to be millionaires or billionaires either. I thought, what would they do with all that money? However, after I started dreaming of how to change other people's lives, I could think of a lot of things I could do that required me to have money. In order for me to help a larger amount of people, I had to have lots and lots of money. And suddenly I knew I wanted to become a millionaire. I had to. Now, being a millionaire wasn't the goal, but it was a means to my end. My real goal was to have influence and help people improve their lives. Watching people get their dreams is what makes me excited. I get almost as excited as they do when they achieve their goals. I needed money so that eventually I could build my own center and hold retreats, workshops, and challenge courses. I could have programs to help people improve every aspect of their lives. I could help people push past fear, complacency, and self-doubt. It was easy to act when I found my purpose. And I knew the same would be true for others when they found theirs. At this point, I became very intentional about what I read and about who I spent time with and what I learned about. I attended seminars that I knew would broaden my experiences and understanding so that I could connect with more people. I started looking at the stories and lessons from ordinary everyday life, and I started to really pay attention to other people around me. I read books that helped me learn how to build relationships and relate with people on different emotional levels. I started learning how to really share what I had learned and experienced with others so that they could use it to enhance their lives. People became the most important thing to me, and I wanted to see them get the results they dreamed of. I knew I'd finally figured it out. I spent a lot of time working on me. I was trying to become the best person I could be so I could help others become the best person they could be. Like ordinary, I had to leave my comfort zone. I had to face opposition and trials. I had to face people who didn't want me to do it or who said I would fail and that I was wasting my time and that it wouldn't be worth it. I had to face my own fears and doubts. What if I wasn't good enough? What if no one was interested in what I wanted to teach them? But I had already given my dream to the dream giver, and he had already given it back to me with a world of possibilities waiting. The dream giver believed in me, and let me tell you, the dream giver, whoever or whatever that is for you, also believes in you. Dare to dream big. Dare to leave your comfort zone. Dare to believe that you deserve to be happy and do what you most want to do. Dare to be you, and you will change the world. It may be your world, it may be someone else's world, or who knows, someday we may read about you in books because you will have changed the whole world.